Hello and welcome to our Fun with Fermentation cooking class today. Today we are going to be making a type of white bread which requires some yeast, canola oil, flour, sugar, salt, and warm water. So first we are going to start by getting the warm water from precisely about 111 degrees to 115 degrees. This step is really important because if the water is too hot, it will kill the yeast because the yeast is living, and if it is too cold, it will not act with the yeast for it to rise. We are working with alcoholic fermentation, which produces CO2, which eventually leads to the bread and the yeast rising to make bread. So we're going to get that water nice and warm, not too hot. So we have our water in our bowl right here at the precise temperature that we want it. So now we are going to add our yeast. If I can figure out how to get it off, scissors might be helpful for this. You have to be sure, though, to work quickly so that, again, the yeast gets in at the precise temperature, or else, again, it will not rise. So once we have that in, we're going to dissolve it. So we're going to do that by stirring it. 1 second, I'm getting a call. Hello? Oh yes, hello. Yes, it is. Okay, goodbye. I'm sorry, that was just my friend Rachel Ray making sure that we got the yeast at the right temperature. So, anywho, now we are going to add the sugar, salt, oil, and 3 cups of flour. So all of that is done, and now we just add our flour. So we're going to take measuring, just dry it out so the flour doesn't get stuck. And I'm going to start measuring. 1. You want to make sure that you have a big bowl for this because it's a lot of ingredients. 2, 5, 6. So we're going to put this back, and now we are going to start mixing. Once I find my whisk, we will start mixing. Who knows? What can I do with it? Even the best cooks sometimes get a little crazy. Well, we'll just get a different one. So now we're going to start mixing this, and we're going to mix it until a soft dough forms. And this is the part where really, if you think you have too much, well, if you don't think you have enough flour, then you can kind of add a little bit more. So we're going to make sure we're including all of this in the dough. We're going to move that. So we're going to get this out, and then we're going to start using our hands to knead the dough. Yeah, this dough is getting really nice. We just need to get it out of the whisk. Not a very clean recipe, but a little flour and yeast and alcoholic fermentation never hurt anyone. Well, at least I hope. I'm sure someone's gotten their arm a little too tired from kneading, but who knows, you need a good arm workout every now and then. So alcoholic fermentation, while I'm trying to clean out my whisk, that's good enough for now. And while I start kneading for 8 to 10 minutes, we're just gonna kind of get this into a dough. I think it might need a tad bit more flour. We don't want to make it too floury, but could help. I found my old whisk. It was under the dish towel, figures. So yeah, now we're just going to add a teeny bit more flour. Not too much. That should be enough. And then we're going to actually keep the flour here because once this dough kind of forms, we are going to get it to perfect. So now it's kind of a nice, should have warned me about that in the recipe. Get a nice floury surface. And kids, if you're making this at home, you gotta make sure to clean up. Moms do not like a floury cutting board, I can promise you that. Now, we're going to need So, as you all know, this process starts with glycolysis. And glycolysis can either lead to lactic acid fermentation or alcoholic fermentation. And the difference is that lactic acid fermentation results in, lactic acid, and alcoholic fermentation results in CO2. But the difference between lactic acid fermentation and alcoholic fermentation is, like I said, that lactic acid results in lactic acid, and alcoholic fermentation results in carbon dioxide, CO2. So with that lactic acid fermentation, it's used by yeast and bacteria, and it starts with glucose, which you get from the glycolysis, and that turns into pyruvic acid, which means the NADH moves and turns into 2 NADHs plus 2 H pluses. And that kind of process lets out 2 ATP. Energy. That's the whole end game. Energy. We're going to just make sure it's not getting too sticky. So once the pyruvic acid is formed, then there's an in-between step, and the last step, the in-between step we don't really worry about. But the last step results in CO2. And the CO2 is what makes the bread rise, and the 2-ethanol that you get is what they make alcohol out of. Unfortunately, beer was not an option for this project, but maybe if you watch someone who's 21, they might show you how to make beer. We're sticking to bread, because hopefully if we did this right, these will still be living in here, which will kind of take part in alcoholic fermentation, which is again used by yeast and bacteria. And then that will produce the 2 CO2s that we want for the bread, which will make this rise, and it will give us a nice loaf of bread. If not, then if we killed the yeast by the temperature of the water, then there will be no alcoholic fermentation, which means no CO2, which means no bread, because the yeast will not have risen. So we've now been kneading for about 8 minutes. I don't think I can go for 2 more, and the dough is looking pretty awesome. So with that done, and now we are going to cover it and put it in a warm place so it can rise. Warm as in my house, because it's about 80 degrees in here right now. And we're going to put this just right over here. And now we're going to let the yeast do all its fermenting, and I will see you guys back here in about an hour and a half, and hopefully we'll have a nice big dough to put in the oven. See you then. Hello, so we're back. The hour and a half has passed, and clearly, so is my outfit, so we're going to check up on the bread right now. It rose! To divide our dough into two, to the loaf pan, and then put it in the oven. And we're going to bake it for 30 to 45 minutes. So we're going to just kind of flatten that out and shape it so it fits. And so hopefully we get a nice loaf. So right now we're going to just let them sit, let them be. Then we're going to put them in the oven when the oven is preheated. Then we're going to let them bake for 30 to 45 minutes, and then we'll be done. And we'll have some nice, toasty, warm bread. So I'll see you back. So we just got the bread out of the oven. It baked for about 35 minutes. So this is what it looks like. And we're going to give it a knock to make sure it has like a hollow sound, which means that it's been baked perfectly. So let's hear it. Sounds good to me. So we're going to cut it up and we're going to eat it. So thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you for coming into my kitchen. And I hope I'll see you next time with Fun with Fermentation. It turned out pretty good if you ask me. Thanks.